I found the job on a pet-sitting app. Easy money. Watched 2 golden retrievers for a week while an older couple visited their daughter in Florida. The house was about 2 hours outside Chicago, deep in rural Illinois, where the cornfields stretched forever and the nearest neighbor was a mile away. The couple, Richard and Diane, seemed nice enough when I met them. Late 60s, polite, a little formal. They walked me through the house, showed me where the dog food was kept, explained the security system. That should have been my first warning. The security system was excessive for a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. Cameras everywhere, in the living room, the kitchen, the hallway upstairs, even one pointed at the back door from inside the mudroom. Richard made a point of showing me how to check the feeds on my phone. "We like to keep an eye on the place," he said. "And the dogs, of course. Make sure they're doing okay while we're gone." "You'll be watching?" I asked. "Just checking in now and then," Diane said quickly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "We're very attached to our babies." The dogs were sweet, Max and Bella, both around 5 years old, well-trained and friendly. They warmed up to me immediately, which made me feel better about the whole thing. The first night was fine. I made dinner, watched TV with the dogs curled up on either side of me, went to bed in the guest room around 11. The house was old and settled with those usual creaking sounds, but nothing that bothered me. The second night, things started feeling wrong. I was in the kitchen making lunch when I heard a door close upstairs. Not slam, just the soft click of a latch catching. Both dogs were with me. I was alone in the house. I stood there, knife in hand from slicing tomatoes, listening. Nothing else. Just that one sound. "Hello?" I called out. Silence. The dogs weren't reacting at all, which should have been reassuring. Should have been. But something about the way they were sitting there, staring at me instead of at the stairs, felt off. I went upstairs, checked every room. All the doors were open except the master bedroom, which I'd kept closed. I opened it now. Empty. Untouched. I checked the closets. Under the bed. Nothing. Back downstairs, I pulled up the camera app on my phone, rewound the footage from the upstairs hallway camera, watched myself walk into the kitchen, watched the empty hallway. Then, at 12:47 p.m., the master bedroom door, which had been open in the frame, swung closed. By itself. Just drifted shut as if on a breeze, except all the windows were closed. Old house, I told myself. Uneven floors, doors don't latch properly. But I'd heard the latch click. That night, I made sure every door in the house was closed and stayed in the living room with the dogs. I kept the camera app open on my phone, flipping between feeds. Everything looked normal. Around 1 a.m., Max started growling, low and steady, his eyes fixed on the kitchen doorway. Bella joined in, both of them on their feet now, hackles raised. "What is it?" I whispered. They didn't move toward the doorway, didn't bark or investigate. They just stood there, growling at something I couldn't see. I grabbed the baseball bat I'd found in the hall closet earlier and pulled up the kitchen camera on my phone. Empty. I checked the mudroom camera. Empty. I switched to the back door camera. The feed was black. Not off, I could still see the timestamp in the corner, but the image was completely dark, like something was covering the lens. My heart started hammering. I checked the feed history. At 12:58 a.m., the camera had been fine. At 12:59, it went black. 1 minute ago. The dogs were still growling. I looked at the kitchen doorway, then back at my phone. Should I call the police? And tell them what? That a camera went dark and the dogs were growling? I switched to the back door camera again. Still black. I sat there frozen, watching the timestamp tick forward. 1:04 a.m. 1:03 a.m. At 1:04 a.m., the feed came back. The back door, the mudroom, everything normal. As if nothing had happened. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I called Richard. Got his voicemail. Called Diane. Voicemail. I texted them both. Camera's acting weird. Dogs seem anxious. Everything okay?" Diane responded 3 hours later. "Cameras glitch sometimes. Dogs probably just heard an animal outside. Nothing to worry about. Enjoy your stay." Enjoy my stay, like I was at a bed and breakfast. I checked the back door. Locked. I checked the camera itself, a small black dome mounted above the doorframe. No fingerprints on the lens, no smudges. If someone had covered it, they'd cleaned up after themselves. That afternoon, I took the dogs for a long walk down the gravel road just to get out of the house. We walked for over an hour. When we got back, I noticed something. The garage door was open. Not all the way, just a foot or so, enough to create a dark gap at the bottom. I'd walked past that garage every day. It had been closed every time. The dogs wouldn't go near it. When I tried to lead them closer, they pulled back, whining. I should have left it alone, should have closed it from the outside and called the police, but I was angry now, not just scared. Someone was fucking with me. Maybe Richard and Diane were testing me somehow, seeing if I'd take care of things or run away. I tied the dogs to the porch railing and approached the garage. It was detached from the house, an old two-car structure with small windows too dirty to see through. I grabbed the handle at the bottom of the door and pulled it up. The door rolled open with a rusty screech. Afternoon sunlight spilled into the space. 2 cars, their Subaru and an old pickup truck. Garden tools on the walls. Boxes stacked along the sides. Normal. Everything normal. Except for the smell. Faint but distinct. Sweat and something else. Something lived in. I stepped inside, looking around more carefully now. The concrete floor was stained with oil and dirt. The walls were bare studs and old pegboard. Nothing unusual. Then, I saw the sleeping bag. It was tucked behind a stack of boxes in the far corner, barely visible. Dark blue, partially unrolled. Next to it, a backpack, a water bottle, a phone charger plugged into an outlet on the wall. Someone had been sleeping here. My mind went blank with fear. I backed toward the door, not turning around, not taking my eyes off that corner, expecting someone to stand up from behind the boxes, to step out from behind the cars. I made it outside and pulled the garage door shut. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely untie the dog's leashes. Inside the house, I locked every door, closed every curtain, called Richard again, voicemail, called Diane, voicemail. I texted, "Someone's been in your garage. There's a sleeping bag and supplies. I'm calling the police." The response came immediately. "Please don't. False alarm. Richard left those there last month when he was doing work on the house. He's terrible about cleaning up, so sorry for the scare." Last month. Doing work. The phone charger was plugged in. I opened the camera app, checked the garage camera. There wasn't one. Checked the driveway camera. It had a partial view of the garage door, but not the interior. I pulled up the history, rewound to yesterday when I'd been on my walk, watched the empty driveway, the closed garage door. Then, at 2:47 p.m., a figure walked into frame from the side of the house. Male, average height, wearing jeans and a dark hoodie. He looked directly at the camera for a moment. His face was visible but too far away to make out clearly, then walked to the garage, lifted the door, and went inside. The door stayed open, that same 1-foot gap I'd seen today. He never came out, not in the footage I could see. I checked the timestamp, 2:47 p.m. yesterday. I'd gotten back from my walk at 3:15 p.m. He'd been in there when I came home. He'd been in there this morning when I left. He might still be in there now. I grabbed my keys and my bag. The dogs sensed my panic and started barking. I clipped on their leashes, hands shaking, and headed for the front door. My phone rang. Diane. I almost didn't answer, but I needed to know, needed to understand what was happening. "Hello?" "Sweetheart, please don't leave." Her voice was calm, almost soothing. "I know you're scared, but everything is fine." "There's someone in your garage. I saw him on the camera from yesterday. He's been there the whole time." "That's our nephew, Marcus. He's staying with us for a bit, going through a rough patch. Richard forgot to mention it. Then why is he hiding in the garage? He's very private, shy. He didn't want to bother you. I'm leaving. Please don't. We're paying you for the full week. If you leave early, we can't give you the rest of the money. I needed that money. I was between jobs, behind on rent, but I needed to be alive more. I don't care about the money. Wait. Her tone shifted, harder now. If you leave, we'll have to report the dogs as abandoned. That's a crime, and we have you on camera entering our garage without permission. That's trespassing. My stomach dropped. You're watching right now? We've been watching the whole time, making sure everything was okay, and it is okay. Everything is fine. Marcus won't bother you. Just finish the week. I looked at the camera in the corner of the living room. The little red light was on. Why are you doing this? Finish the week, please. She hung up. I stood there, dogs whining at my feet, staring at that camera. They've been watching me this whole time. The door is moving, the camera's going dark. They'd probably done that remotely, testing me, scaring me, herding me toward that garage. And I'd walked right into it. I thought about calling the police, and tell them what? A couple was watching their own security cameras while someone house sat? Their nephew was staying in the garage? I'd have to explain that I felt threatened, but they hadn't actually done anything illegal. Except they had. They'd lured me here, set me up. For what? I looked out the front window. The driveway was empty. My car was there, 30 feet away. I could leave. They couldn't physically stop me. But as I thought it, I saw movement at the side of the house. The man in the hoodie, Marcus, stepping into view. He was just standing there, hands in his pockets, watching the front door. I stepped back from the window. My phone buzzed. A text from Richard. We'll double your payment. Just stay. Another buzz. Diane, please, we're asking nicely. Another. Don't make us ask again. I ran through the house to the back door, dragging the dogs with me, unlocked it, stepped outside. The backyard was empty, open fields beyond, corn stubble from the fall harvest. I could cut across, get to the road, flag down a car. I started running, dogs racing ahead of me, made it maybe 50 yards before I heard the engine. The pickup truck from the garage was bouncing across the field, cutting me off from the road. Marcus was driving. I changed direction, heading toward a line of trees at the property edge. Heard the truck's engine rev, getting closer. The dogs were barking frantically now, confused and scared. I reached the trees and crashed through the underbrush, branches whipping at my face. The truck stopped at the edge, couldn't follow through the trees. I kept running, didn't look back, ran until my lungs burned and my legs felt like they'd give out. I reached another road eventually, flagged down a car, an older woman who took one look at my face and let me in. She drove me to the nearest gas station. I called the police from there. They sent a car to the house, found nothing. Richard and Diane weren't there, still in Florida, they said. Marcus? No one by that name, no nephew. The garage was empty except for the cars and tools. No sleeping bag, no backpack, no phone charger. The cameras? Working fine. Nothing unusual in the footage, they said. I showed them the video I'd saved on my phone, the man walking into the garage. They looked at it, said they'd investigate, took my statement. Nothing came of it. Case closed due to lack of evidence. I never got paid for that week. Never heard from Richard and Diane again. The listing disappeared from the app. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd stayed, if I'd finished the week like they wanted, what they were planning, why they needed me specifically in that house at that time. I still don't know what I was really there for, but I know it wasn't about watching the dogs. I've been bartending for 6 years. You see a lot of weird shit in that time. Drunks, fights, people crying into their drinks at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. But you get used to it. You learn to read people, anticipate problems, tune out the stuff that doesn't matter. This was different. It was a Wednesday night, slow, maybe 10 people in the whole place, scattered across the bar and booths. I was wiping down glasses, half watching a basketball game on the TV, when I noticed them. An elderly couple sitting in the corner booth. They hadn't been there when I'd last looked, maybe 5 minutes ago, but now they were just there. Both probably in their 80s. The man wore a brown suit that looked 40 years out of date. The woman had a blue dress and a string of pearls. They sat perfectly straight, hands folded on the table, staring at the wall opposite them. Not at each other, not at menus, at the wall. I walked over with menus. "Evening, folks. Can I get you started with something to drink?" They didn't respond, didn't look at me, just kept staring at that wall. "Folks," I said, louder. Nothing, like I wasn't there. I stood there for a moment, feeling stupid. Then I set the menus down on the table and walked away. Maybe they were deaf or having some kind of episode. Not my problem if they didn't want to order. I went back to the bar, served a couple of beers. When I looked up again, they were still there. Same position, same blank stares. 10 minutes passed, then 20. They hadn't moved at all, hadn't shifted in their seats, hadn't blinked that I could see from across the room. "Hey, Tommy," I called to one of my regulars. "You see that couple in the corner?" Tommy glanced over. "What couple?" "In the corner booth, old people." He looked again, longer this time. "There's nobody there." "Very funny." "I'm serious. That booth is empty." I stared at him. He wasn't the type to fuck with me. I looked back at the booth. The couple was still there. "Tommy, there are 2 people sitting right there." He followed my gaze, squinting. "I don't see anyone. Are you feeling okay?" A chill ran down my spine. I walked over to another customer, a woman I'd served earlier. "Excuse me, do you see anyone in that corner booth?" She looked, shook her head. "No, why?" I didn't answer. Walked back behind the bar and poured myself a water with shaking hands. This was insane. They were right there, solid, real. Unless I was losing my mind. I forced myself to go back to work, served drinks, made small talk, didn't look at the corner booth, but I could feel them, feel their presence, feel their attention. An hour passed, the basketball game ended, a few people left, the bar got quieter. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked straight to the corner booth, determined to make them acknowledge me or prove I was seeing things. They were still staring at the wall, same position. "Hey," I said, "you need to order something or leave." No response. I reached out and tapped the table in front of them. My knuckles hit solid wood. This was real. They were real. "I'm not playing games. Order something or get out." Slowly, so slowly it made my skin crawl, both of them turned their heads toward me. Their faces were blank, smooth, like mannequins. Their eyes were open, but there was nothing behind them. No life, no intelligence, no humanity. They stared at me. I stumbled backward, almost tripping. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I backed away to the bar, not taking my eyes off them. They kept staring, not at the wall anymore, at me. "Tommy," I said. My voice came out wrong, too high. "Tommy, look at them now." He looked. There's still nobody there. "They're staring at me." "Okay, I think you need to take a break." "I'm not crazy." The other customers were looking at me now. Concerned looks, the kind of looks you give someone who's having a breakdown. I grabbed my phone and took a picture of the booth, looked at the screen. Empty booth. No couple. I looked up. They were still there, watching me. "I need to go," I said, grabbed my jacket from the back. "I need to leave." Tommy tried to stop me, but I pushed past him, burst out the front door into the parking lot. The night air was cold and I sucked it in, trying to calm down. I got in my car, locked the doors, sat there breathing hard, hands gripping the steering wheel. Just stress, lack of sleep, something. I'd go home, sleep it off, be fine tomorrow. I looked at the bar entrance. Through the window, I could see the corner booth. Empty. I started the car and drove home, 10 minutes through quiet streets. My apartment was in an older building, second floor, overlooking the street. I parked and got out, still shaky, locked the car, started toward the building entrance. Then I saw them. Across the street, standing under a broken streetlight, the same couple, the man in his brown suit, the woman in her blue dress, standing perfectly still, staring at me. I ran into the building, slammed the door, took the stairs 2 at a time, got into my apartment and locked every lock. I went to the window and looked down at the street. They were standing directly below now, looking up at my window. I closed the curtains and backed away. That was 2 months ago. I quit that job, told them I was moving, needed to leave immediately. They weren't happy, but they let me go. I still see them sometimes, in crowds, at the grocery store, standing at the end of my street. Always watching, always silent. And no one else can see them. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they want. But I know they're getting closer. The logging camp was about as remote as you can get, 40 miles from the nearest town, accessible only by a series of unmarked Forest Service roads that turned to mud in the rain. Me and Jake had been working there for 3 weeks, cutting timber in rotation with a crew of about 20 guys. Most of the crew stayed in a bunkhouse near the main camp. Jake and I preferred the camper setup, more privacy, less noise. We parked our trailer about a mile from the main camp, deeper into the forest where the old growth was. The radio was our only connection to the outside. Every crew had one. We'd use them to coordinate work, check in at the end of shifts, call for help if someone got hurt. The voices started on our 4th night. We'd just finished dinner, sitting in the trailer playing cards, when Jake's radio crackled. "Unit 7, this is Unit 3. You guys still out there?" Jake picked up the radio. Unit 3 was Patterson, the crew lead. "Yeah, we're here. What's up?" "Just checking. Heard some weird chatter on the line. You hear anything?" "Negative. We've been off since 1800. "Copy that. Let me know if you pick anything up." We went back to cards. About an hour later, my radio crackled. "Jake." It was my voice, coming from my own radio, calling Jake's name. Jake looked at me, then at the radio. "That you?" I shook my head slowly. I hadn't touched my radio. "Jake," the voice said again. Perfect inflection, perfect tone. Jake keyed his radio. "Who is this?" Silence. Then, "Come find me." "Fuck off," Jake said. He switched channels. "Someone's screwing around on the radios." "That was my voice," I said. "I know. Someone recorded you." "When? How?" He didn't have an answer. We tried to ignore it, switched off the radios and went to sleep. The next morning, we mentioned it to Patterson. He frowned. "You sure it wasn't just crosstalk? Sometimes signals bounce weird out here." "It was too clear," I said. "I'll ask around, see if anyone else heard anything." No one had. We were the only ones who'd heard the voices. That night, it happened again. Different channel this time. Jake's voice calling my name, then my voice calling his. "Come find us. We're waiting. Come to the woods." We didn't respond, didn't play their game. We turned off the radios and sat in silence, listening to the forest outside. The next day, we found the first sign. We were cutting a section about 2 miles east of our trailer when I noticed something strange. A cleared area in the underbrush, about 20 feet across. The ground was disturbed, like something had been dragged through it. Jake saw it too. "The hell is that?" We walked over. In the center of the cleared area were marks in the dirt, long, deep grooves, like someone had dug their fingers into the ground and been dragged away. There was no blood, no body, just the marks. And something else. At the edge of the clearing, tied to a low branch, was a radio. One of ours. I recognized the orange tape we used to mark our equipment. It was on. The channel indicator glowed green. Jake untied it and turned it over. Our unit number was written on the back in marker, but this radio had been in the trailer. We checked inventory that morning. "Someone's fucking with us," Jake said, but his voice was uncertain. We took the radio back to camp, showed Patterson. He looked grim. "Pack up," he said. "Both of you. Move your trailer back to main camp tonight." "What's going on?" I asked. "Just do it." We did. Hooked up the trailer and drove it back, parked it next to the bunkhouse. The other crew members looked at us strangely but didn't ask questions. That night, we learned why. Patterson called a meeting in the mess hall. All 20 of us crammed around the tables. "Listen up," he said. "There have been reports of people in the woods, not loggers, not hikers, people who shouldn't be here." "What kind of people?" someone asked. "The kind you don't want to meet. A couple of camps south of here had incidents last year. Equipment stolen, crews harassed. One guy went missing for 3 days, turned up half dead saying someone had hunted him." "Jesus Christ," Jake muttered. "Everyone stays at main camp from now on, no exceptions. We work in groups of 4 minimum. If you see anyone who's not crew, you radio immediately and get back here. Understood?" We understood, but it didn't matter. 2 nights later, Jake and I were asleep in the trailer when something hit the side hard enough to rock it. We both jolted awake. Jake grabbed his flashlight. I grabbed at the shotgun we kept under the bed. "What the fuck was that?" Jake whispered. Another impact, then another. Something was hitting the trailer over and over, methodically, like someone testing its strength. I looked out the window, couldn't see anything in the darkness. Jake grabbed his radio. "Main camp, this is Unit 7. We need help. Someone's outside our trailer." Static. "Main camp, do you copy?" More static. Then a voice, Patterson's voice, but wrong, flat and emotionless. "No one's coming." The impact stopped. Silence. Jake and I stared at each other. We both recognized it now. This wasn't a prank. This was something worse. Footsteps circled the trailer, slow and deliberate. Then they stopped at the door. The handle started to turn. I raised the shotgun. "Get back!" The handle stopped. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire trailer lurched as something slammed into it from behind. The windows shattered. Hands reached through, pale, filthy hands with broken nails. I fired. The blast was deafening in the enclosed space. The hands withdrew. "Go!" Jake yelled. We ran for the door. Jake yanked it open and we stumbled out into the night. Shapes moved in the darkness around us. I couldn't tell how many. 3? 4? They moved wrong, hunched and fast. We ran toward the main camp. Behind us, I heard them following, heard their breathing, ragged and wet. Jake went down. I didn't see what hit him, but he fell hard. I turned back, grabbed his arm, pulled him up. Something grabbed my shoulder. I spun and fired again. Saw a face for just a second in the muzzle flash. Gaunt, filthy, with wide, staring eyes. Then we were running again. The lights of main camp appeared ahead. Other crew members were coming out, shouting, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Our attackers melted back into the forest. Jake's face was bleeding. His radio was gone, torn from his belt. We told Patterson everything. He called it in immediately. Police and Forest Service arrived the next morning. They found our trailer destroyed, equipment scattered, and they found footprints, dozens of them, circling the area. But they didn't find anyone. The camp was evacuated that day. All of us pulled out. The company suspended operations in that sector. 2 weeks later, we heard that another crew had found something. A body. One of the workers from a camp 15 miles north that had closed suddenly last month. He'd been murdered, tortured first. They never found who did it. Jake quit logging after that, got a job in construction. I kept working, but never that deep in the woods again. Sometimes I still hear the radios in my sleep. voices calling my name, telling me to come find them. The lake house belonged to my buddy Marcus's family. We'd gone up there a few times over the years, fishing, drinking, the usual. It was remote, on a private lake with maybe 5 other houses scattered around the shore, most of them empty except during summer. This was late October, cold. Marcus and I had gone up for the weekend, just to get away from the city. We'd been there since Friday afternoon, and by Saturday night we were pretty drunk, sitting on the dock watching the stars. That's when we saw the light. Across the lake, maybe half a mile away, flashing. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. "Is that SOS?" Marcus said. I watched it repeat. Yeah, that's definitely SOS. We sobered up pretty quick. The light was coming from one of the other houses, a 2-story place on the far shore. I'd never seen anyone there before. "Should we call someone?" I asked. Marcus already had his phone out. No signal. We'd have to drive back to town. That'll take an hour. The light kept flashing, desperate, regular. "Fuck it," Marcus said. "Let's take the boat." We weren't that drunk. We could handle a boat ride. Someone might be dying over there. We climbed into Marcus's little fishing boat and started the outboard motor. The lake was calm, no wind. We cut across the dark water toward the flashing light. As we got closer, I could see the house more clearly. 2 stories, dark wood siding, a lot of windows. All of them were dark except for one on the 2nd floor where the light was flashing. We pulled up to their dock. The light was still going. We could see it was coming from a window facing the lake. "Hello?" Marcus called out. "Anyone here? We saw your signal." No response. We tied up the boat and walked up to the house. The back door was unlocked. We pushed it open. "Hello? We're here to help." Silence. The house was empty, furniture covered with sheets, smell of dust and mildew. We walked through the 1st floor, kitchen, living room, bathroom. Nothing. Upstairs, we found the room with the light. It wasn't a flashlight. It was a projector. Sitting on a tripod, pointed at the window, hooked up to a laptop with a simple program running. Flash 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. Repeat. Marcus and I looked at each other. "What the fuck?" he said. That's when we heard the front door open downstairs. Footsteps, more than one person. I grabbed Marcus's arm. We both knew immediately this was a trap. We'd been lured here. Marcus pointed at the window. I shook my head. 2nd story, too high to jump. The footsteps were coming up the stairs now, fast. We ran to the only other room on that floor, a bathroom. Marcus locked the door. It was flimsy, wouldn't hold for long. The window in here was smaller, but we could fit. I yanked it open. We were above a sloped roof that led to a 1st floor extension. "Go!" Marcus hissed. I climbed through, slid down the roof, dropped into the bushes below. Marcus came right behind me. We ran for the dock. Behind us, I heard shouting, saw flashlights cutting through the darkness. The boat was still there. We jumped in. Marcus yanked the starter cord. The engine sputtered. "Come on," he muttered. Pulled again. It sputtered and died. Footsteps pounding on the dock. Multiple people running. 3rd pull, the engine caught. Marcus gunned it. We shot away from the dock just as shapes emerged from the darkness. I didn't look back to see their faces. Didn't want to. We made it maybe 200 yards before Marcus screamed. The boat was sinking. Water was pouring in through a hole in the bottom. Not torn, cut deliberately. They'd sabotaged it while we were in the house. "Swim!" Marcus yelled. We jumped. The water was freezing, shocking. I gasped and went under, came up thrashing. My clothes felt like they weighed 100 pounds. Marcus was ahead of me, swimming hard toward his family's dock. I followed, my arms and legs already going numb. The cold was worse than the fear, worse than knowing someone was probably watching us from that other dock. The cold was immediate and overwhelming, and it wanted to kill us. I don't know how we made it. By the time we reached the dock, I couldn't feel my hands, couldn't grip the ladder. Marcus had to pull me up. We stumbled into his house, stripped off our wet clothes, turned every heater on full blast. We called the police from his landline. They came, went to the house across the lake. Found nothing. No projector, no laptop, no sign anyone had been there recently. The owners lived in Chicago, hadn't been to the house in months. "You sure you didn't just see a reflection?" the cop asked. "Some kind of natural phenomenon?" "Our boat sank," Marcus said. "It was sabotaged." They found the boat the next day. The hole in the bottom looked old, they said. Probably been there a while. We'd just been too drunk to notice. We knew better. Someone had been in that house. Someone had set up the projector. Someone had cut the boat and waited for us to discover it too late. Someone had tried to kill us. But without evidence, what could the police do? We left that day. Marcus sold the lake house a month later. Wouldn't even go back to clean it out. I still think about it. About what would have happened if we'd gone further into that house, if we'd been a little slower getting out. Who were they? How many? What did they want? I don't have answers. Just the memory of that light flashing across dark water. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. A perfect trap. I'd lived in the apartment for 2 years. Quiet building, mostly young professionals. My next-door neighbor was a guy named Derek, mid-30s, worked from home doing something with computers. We weren't friends, but we were friendly. He'd nod in the hallway, accept packages for me if I wasn't home. Normal guy. Until the party. It was a Saturday night in March. I'd gotten home from dinner around 10 p.m. and was settling in when I heard music through the wall. Not unusual. Derek had people over sometimes. But this seemed bigger. I could hear multiple voices, laughter, the bass thump of a decent sound system. Good for him, I thought. I put in headphones and watched TV. Around midnight, I stepped outside to throw out some trash. The hallway was empty, but I could still hear the party, muffled but definitely there. Sounded like a good time. On my way back, I noticed something odd. There were shoes outside Derek's door. A lot of shoes. Maybe 10 or 12 pairs, all lined up neatly. Men's shoes, women's shoes, different sizes. That was considerate, keeping the floors clean. I went back inside. The party went until 3 a.m. I finally fell asleep around then. The next morning, I saw Derek in the hallway. He looked tired but normal. "Hey man, sounded like quite the party last night," I said. He looked confused. "What party?" "At your place. Went pretty late." "I wasn't home last night. Stayed at my girlfriend's place." I laughed. "Come on, I heard it. Saw all the shoes outside your door?" His confusion deepened. "I wasn't here. I left Saturday morning and just got back 20 minutes ago." We stared at each other. "You're serious," I said. "Yeah, what are you talking about?" I described what I'd heard. The music, the voices, the laughter, the shoes. Derek pulled out his phone, opened an app. "Look, I have a security camera in my apartment. It sends alerts to my phone if it detects motion." He scrolled through. No alerts all weekend. Nothing. That's impossible. "Come see for yourself." He unlocked his door. We went inside. The apartment was pristine, undisturbed. No signs of a party, no empty bottles, no trash, no furniture moved, nothing. "Check the footage," I said. He pulled it up on his laptop. We watched. His living room, empty from multiple angles. Saturday night, the timestamp running. 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m. Nothing. No movement. No party. I swear to God I heard it. Maybe it was another apartment. Sound carries weird in this building. But I'd heard it through our shared wall. I was certain. Over the next week, I couldn't let it go. I asked other neighbors if they'd heard a party that night. No one had. Then it happened again. 2 weeks later, Saturday night, I was home, working late on a project. Around 11 p.m., the music started. Same wall, Derek's apartment. I immediately went to the hallway. The shoes were there again, more this time, maybe 15 pairs neatly lined up. I knocked on Derek's door, no answer. Knocked harder. The music was definitely coming from inside, but the door stayed closed. I called Derek's cell. It rang and rang, no answer. I stood there, frustrated, called him again. This time, he picked up. "Hey, what's up?" He sounded normal, relaxed. "Are you home?" "No, I'm at my girlfriend's again. Why?" "There's another party at your apartment." Silence. "That's not possible." "I'm standing outside your door right now. I can hear it. There are shoes everywhere." "Call the police," he said. "Someone broke in." I hung up and dialed 911, explained the situation. They said they'd send someone. While I waited, I stood there listening. The music continued. I could hear people talking and laughing, the clink of glasses. It sounded so real. The police arrived 15 minutes later. 2 officers. I explained everything. They knocked on Derek's door. No answer. "We need the owner's permission to enter," one officer said. "He said to go in. He thinks someone broke in." They called Derek, confirmed. Then they had building security open the door with the master key. We went inside. The apartment was empty, silent. No music, no people, no signs of a party. The officers looked at me like I was wasting their time. "I heard it," I insisted. "It was right here." They checked the whole apartment, closets, bathroom, bedroom. Nothing. "Maybe you heard something from outside," one officer suggested. "Sound does weird things in apartment buildings." They left. I felt like an idiot, but I knew what I'd heard. The next day, Derek came back. We met in the hallway. He looked worried. "What's going on?" he asked. "I don't know, but I heard it, I swear." My camera didn't pick up anything again. "Can I see the footage?" We went inside. He pulled it up. Same thing. Empty apartment, no movement. "Wait," I said. "Go back to when the police came in." He rewound. We watched the officers enter the frame, look around, leave. "Now show me the timestamp for when I was standing outside hearing the party." He jumped to 11 p.m. Empty apartment. But something was wrong. I stared at the screen. "Derek, where's your couch?" He looked. "What?" "In the footage, where's your couch?" The living room in the footage showed hardwood floors, a TV stand, a lamp. No couch. But looking at the room right now, there was clearly a couch against the wall. "That's not current footage," Derek said slowly. "That's from before I got the couch. I bought it 3 weeks ago." We looked at each other. "Your camera is showing old footage," I said. "Someone's looping it." "But that would mean—" He stopped. "That would mean someone had access to his camera system, someone who could make it show fake footage, someone who could make his apartment appear empty when it wasn't." "Has anyone else had access to your apartment?" I asked. "Just my girlfriend and the maintenance guy, but that was months ago for a water leak." "When was the leak?" "February, right before I moved the couch in." I felt cold. "Show me the camera footage from February." He pulled it up. We watched. Most of it was normal. Derek coming and going, his girlfriend visiting. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon when Derek would have been at work, the camera went dark for 3 hours. When it came back, everything looked the same. Someone turned it off or covered it. But why? Nothing's missing, nothing's been touched. Not that you know of. We started searching, went through every room carefully. At first, everything seemed normal. Then, Derek opened the basement door. His apartment building was old, converted from a larger building. Some units had basement access, small storage areas mostly unused. Derek never went down there. He'd used it once when he moved in, then forgot about it. We went down the stairs. The lights didn't work. Derek used his phone flashlight. The basement was divided into separate locked storage cages for each unit. Derek's cage was at the far end. The lock was broken. Inside, boxes had been moved. There was a clear path to the back wall. And against that wall, We saw it. A hole, maybe 2 feet across, broken through the concrete. It led into darkness, into the crawl space between this building and the one next door. "Jesus Christ," Derek whispered. We could see marks on the floor, drag marks. Things had been moved through that hole recently. "We need to call the police," I said. We backed away from the cage, started up the stairs. That's when we heard it, from Derek's apartment above us. Music, voices, laughter. The party had started again. We ran up the stairs. The door to Derek's apartment was still open from when we'd left. We burst inside. Empty, silent. But I'd heard it. Derek had heard it too this time. "It's coming from below," Derek said. We looked at each other. The basement, the hole. We went back down, more cautiously this time, moved through Derek's storage cage to the hole in the wall. The sounds were coming from beyond it, echoing through the crawl space. Derek shined his light through. I could see another space beyond. Looked like another basement, part of the neighboring building. There were lights on in there and shadows moving. "We're calling the police," I said. "Right now. Don't go in there." We went back upstairs, called 911, told them everything. This time they took it seriously, sent multiple units. They went into the basement, followed the hole through. What they found, they wouldn't tell us details about, but they evacuated the neighboring building. Arrested someone. We heard later it was something to do with illegal activity, possibly human trafficking. The fake party sounds? Recording equipment set up to mask other noises. The shoes outside Derek's door? Probably placed there to make neighbors think there was a loud party so they wouldn't investigate other sounds. The camera hack? So they could move freely through Derek's basement without him knowing. Derek moved out the next month. I moved out 2 weeks after that. I don't know exactly what was happening in that basement, don't want to know, but I know those party sounds weren't innocent. They were cover for something much worse happening right underneath us. And if I hadn't been so stubborn about what I'd heard, if I'd just let it go like everyone told me to, they might have never been caught. I still hear those sounds sometimes, music and laughter and voices. Now they just make me sick.